we were on the topic of choreography, solo, group. I think Radhika, you had a question.
I wanted to ask when the audience sees a solo performance, say an article in Jivarna, where there's only one bhakta because it's being performed solo, and when if he sees maybe the group, like the audience, how do they respond to that? Don't they get confused with how many bhaktas are there, or how do they take that particular?
I wish I had audiences which asked all this. Today's audience, whatever you give them is what they accept. You don't have discerning audiences who really kind of question things. And anyway, the way we did it, we didn't do it as a collective bhakta. We still had the individual, very much the individual saying what he has to say. And so it depends on the approach as well. Na? As I said, it cannot be one multiplied into so many, all of them. And then it's too predetermined also. Here there's still scope for manodharma also. In that one avartanam, what you say is your business, and you know what the other person is going to maybe probably say, because in a rehearsal you don't at least know the broad parameters of who's going to say what. So within that you have enough creativity to kind of say what you want to say. It's not kind of fully, you're not kind of boxed in, So because many people have this thing that in a group there's hardly any manodharma possible, and it is kind of very predetermined. Yes, many sections you can't kind of play around, but we do keep in many productions some places where there's scope for improvisation, and where there is scope for your own reacting to a different place each time you are performing or trying to view it differently. So I guess that much is possible. You had a question?
Yeah? Margam is one thing, and okay, multiplying or getting more bodies to do within the margam. But today, if I want to make my own statement, how do I take the dance, make it my own, and maybe refer to the social environment that I live in, and address it and address issues that matter to me? Because a lot of times you're asked to present works on particular themes that are outside the scope of mythology or the general content of Bharatanatyam. So how do you go about doing that?
See, there are two distinct things in this. This is a philosophical decision first, Many people want to stay as known to be doing only the classical and not wanting to step beyond that. And that's your own choice. If you feel that's where you're most comfortable and that's where you would want to stay, and you really don't want to explore something else, that's perfectly all right. And within that you create, you kind of go deeper and you expand your repertoire. But there's also this possibility of using dance as a communication tool, very potent communication tool, and to see what happens when you take a contemporary subject or something that is bothering society or bothering you as a person, and you want to express through your art, because it's happening in visual art, it's happening in theatre, it's happening in music. So is it that impossible through dance? But the only thing is it happening through classical music?
What the elements that you are?
See, visual art is very, it cannot be compared with classical music or classical dance. Visual art is a very loosely kind of, it doesn't have those do's and don'ts which we strictly follow, or it doesn't follow a text like the Natya Shastra. It's just some broad techniques which are there, which also sometimes people go beyond and do their own thing. So there's nothing like right or wrong, So is the case in theatre. It's a form of self-expression, and if I feel this is the way I want to do it, that's the way. Broad tenets are there, but not this kind of codified, structured grammar which you have to follow. So, to compare the classical music or dance with other genres suddenly seems very unequal comparison, you know. So, that's why many people still want to stay within the bounds of the creative, of the classical realm, because once you step out, how far do you step out becomes the issue, and in what way do you step out also becomes the issue, and then acceptability becomes the issue. So, there are lots of things that you know, kind of come into play at the same time. So, I think that's an individual artistic philosophical decision you have to take, whether you want to really do something like that, and how deeply you are disturbed by it and how badly you want to do it also. Not because X is doing it or X is asking you to do it, but do you really want to do it? You know, there has to be an inner urge to really do something that is relating to a social cause or relating to something that you feel concerned about. I can tell you my experience. My first work which I did is Shivam, which was inspired by one of the people I used to go for Sanskrit poetry.
This is outside the Margam.
Outside the Margam and group. So, I read this poem called Shivam by her, and I started kind of enjoying the poem. It was very abstract, extremely difficult to maybe straight away do in abhinaya or do in any kind of visual vocabulary. So, I kind of sat over it for a long time, kept reading it, and then suddenly tried to link it to with pure dance, with swaras and the kind of elements that we had. Called in my musician Vasanti Krishna Rao, and sat, and of course that was the time when the poetry was read in between in English, and then we translated that into dance. So, each verse was read in between in English, and that got translated into dance through whatever vehicle. We chose different mediums for different paragraphs. It was not the same kind of approach. For example, there was this one beautiful, I don't remember the poem offhand, but of course we can see the clip and you can kind of get an idea of the poem. And there was this beautiful, talked about tenderness, and it talked about Shiva and his tender part. So, we had used that swara pattern, which was which became a very favorite swara of many of us. Maga sa ni da ni sa maga ga ma da ni da ma da ni sa ni da maga sa ga ma ga ma ga ma ga ma ga sa ni da ni sa da ni sa ma ga ma da ni da ma da ni sa ni da ma ga sa ga ma ga ma ga ma ga ma ga sa ni da ni sa ma ga ma da ni sa da ni sa ma ga sa ni da ni sa ma ga ma da ni sa da ni sa ma da ni da. I don't remember the full thing now. Sa ma ga da ma ni da ma sa ga ni sa ni da ma da ni sa ga ma ga sa ni sa ga sa ni da ma da ni da ma ga da ma ni da sa ni sa ma ga da ma ni da sa ni sa ma ga da ma ni da sa ni ga. And then we took a jari tam titaka. So, it went like that. So, creating these little bits of pieces which would actually give you scope to kind of, you know, expand that verse which was being read, interpreting that. See, because we still had the narrative head, you know, very difficult to get out of the narrative head, because dance is all about narration. You have to have a narrative. I mean, so used to that just translated into poetry. Poetry became the narrative which you had as the base, and then you did the abstractions of that. So then issue thing came up when I was asked by, as you rightly said, by WISCOM to do something on women and war. They had this international conference on women and war, and they said, why don't you think of doing something on women and war? So I started reading, and as usual, mythology, went back to mythology, wanted to see what is possible. And at the same time, Anurupa Roy was also asked, Anurupa Roy, the puppeteer, was also asked to do another piece. So she was also reading, and one day both of us met at Sahitya Academy library, and both of us were reading, and both of us were wanting to see how we can kind of say, and both of us were kind of zeroing in on the same kind of thing, you know, on Draupadi and the post the war time and how she was suffering losses and the futility, because when the moment you say war, it's for us the Mahabharata, you know. We have this conditioned thinking. So we wanted to see the futility of war, and what purpose did it serve at the end of the day, the Mahabharata. So I think we both sing, and then suddenly we looked at each other and said, why don't we do it together, you know. So that was the first time when I did something based on a subject and a collaboration. Both happened at the same time, you know. So the subject was, of course, what was nice for me was because it was an international conference and they had given us a session to share how we arrived at what we arrived at, because people would see the performance the previous day, and next day we would discuss the process. So for me that was very gratifying, because I always wanted dance not to be just an entertainment evening for a seminar, but to be part and parcel of what was being discussed and to be part of the intellectual discourse, you know, take dance to that level. Because dancers are just dismissed as, you know, you entertain the participants of the seminar and go your way. So I just want to be part of the seminar. We were invited to the seminar to attend every session, you know. So I felt very happy with that, because I always felt that dance is capable of that space and we must enter that space. So both of us started working, and I still remember distinctly the puppeteers walked in with their puppets, and my dancers looked at them very strangely. It was a group work, of course. She had her puppeteers, I had my dancers, and they looked at each other and very, very apprehensive. These people looking at them, looking strange, what puppet and all. Look at us, we are the warm-ups, and they were doing their warm-ups and showing up, and how disciplined we are, and they were like rags picking up their dolls and, you know, trying to do something with the hand, something with the leg. So it was a completely two different disciplines, you know. And at the end of the production, it was very interesting, because the puppeteers were doing warm-ups and my dancers were playing around with the puppets. They knew how to make puppets, they knew how to manipulate puppets. So it's a very interesting dialogue that happened through the process, and even today we have the puppeteers walking in and dialoguing with us, and we go to their shows, and they've evolved in a very different way, we've gone our way differently. So it was a very, very nice experience. And the puppet, I was handling the puppet in a sense, I was talking to the puppet, how to actually an inanimate thing like the puppet, how to give it expression, you know. So we learned a lot in the process. So that's the thing, when you collaborate, you get to know a lot about the other person's experience. And in that, we can kind of share a few clips. We'd used an alap as a lament. We'd used a jati as to express sorrow. So it was all done only through the body using jati. Used hastas like this, hastas like this. So different ways of using the body, but the rhythm was carrying on in the feet. So how to you know, kind of give a new interpretation to rhythm. So we tried all that, and the alap, of course, it was like more like a not sticking to any particular raga, but trying to do an alap like a whale, you know. So the lament. So we tried a lot of things, and we used a lot of props in that as well. So it was a different work departure from. So I see myself as a completely two-pronged approach to how I see my work. One is the completely traditional. Even today we are capable of doing a Kapi Tillana, and we are capable of doing a 5 Kshetrajna Padams back to back. And the other side where we'd like to push the frontiers, we are open to discussion, we are open to dialoguing, we are open to do things with other forms, other genres. So I don't see a dichotomy in this at all, but people do. People have a huge issue, you know. People want to be very specific where they can slot you, then they are very comfortable. Oh, she's a traditionalist. She's a contemporary dancer. These so-called tags, which I have never lived up to. Unfortunately, to disappoint a lot of people, I have not lived up to these tags.
Isn't Bharatanatyam also contemporary? The fact that we're doing it.
I wish people understood that.
Yeah, the fact that it's also evolving. It's not.
And sometimes I feel the so-called traditionalist Bharatanatyam are much more pop than the so-called pop. So I just feel that it's all in the head, you know. So as an artist, I think it's completely your take. You want to be slotted as a very comfortable classical dancer, so be it. If you follow your heart and you just do what you have conviction in, then that's another take. So I'm not saying either is right or either is wrong, or no value judgment. I have gone about it in a certain way, and I've never had any regrets, because I never want that, oh, I wish at that time I had done this, I had this opportunity, I didn't do it. I never want to regret that. I want to take opportunity as it comes, and I want to experiment, I want to put, and I feel still the power of Bharatanatyam has not been fully explored. I still feel that there's so much more that can be done. So unless we try out, unless we move, it's not going to happen. Everybody can't be in comfort zones and just say that this is it.
Akka, coming back to choreography, when you are choreographing a piece in which you are also dancing, when you choreograph, how do you visualize? Especially, either you'll be missing in action from the choreography, or if you are also dancing with the rest of the bodies, you're not able to see what is going on. So how do you deal with that?
It's a very difficult situation, and now I have realized my group is strong enough for me to dissociate from the group. Earlier I didn't have the confidence to do that with my group, because I always felt that if I am not there, maybe it's psychological also. My dancers were very young, you know, they were still kind of growing. I have never employed dancers from outside, professional dancers, and done, because I feel the kind of synergy that the group has, because of being my own students, I find that synergy very, very, I just have to say and it's done, you know, they understand what I exactly want. And the similarity in approach, in idea, in ideation, everything becomes very difficult. If I'm stuck somewhere, everybody knows we need a pen and pencil. We know that we need to mark the possibilities with 5 or 4 or 3, we put it down on paper. We know the process. By now we've done so much work that we all understand each other very well. So for me, it's still being very difficult to bring in somebody from outside and work with that person. I've never had that. So I just felt initially my group was still very young to let them be, and me to be standing out and choreographing and not being part of the choreography. Yes, it's extremely difficult to visualize. Many times we do videos and see how it looks and then get back. So there are other processes that you engage in, or you ask some other dancer to be in your place and kind of do your bit sometimes and see. So, or many times I keep my solo bits a little different, and then the group comes in. So different ways of even overcoming that problem and kind of circumventing that and doing it. But it is difficult to be a choreographer and performing in the same work. It's extremely difficult.
Akka, when you expand from solo to group, the dynamics change, the process changes, the entire approach changes. As a solo dancer, the dancer is trained to be able to handle every aspect of the dance form, communicate with the musicians, and ultimately it's her own solo presentation. But when a group comes, do you think there is a need for a little bit more of democratization and involving more bodies? For instance, if you get a dramaturge or if you get another person who you trust and who knows how you work, who can be like a director or a watchful eye to see everything is going smoothly, then do you think that the approach is different when you go into group, because the hierarchy sort of fizzles out in that sense?
I don't think in our group we've had this kind of thing of having somebody else come in and direct us so far, because we've done our own work. All of us have done whatever we do for a solo, we do that in a group also, and in fact multiplied those many times more and work harder.
And each time it's different.
Each time it is different. So ideal situation would be if somebody came from outside and directed us, and we had the funds to kind of do that, and maybe see, because outside it works in the West simply because the dancers just dance. Here we are running for costumes, running to distribute our pamphlets, running around to sticking posters. We do all the Mundu boy work, plus we are the beautiful dancers on stage also. So I guess that we used to that now, so we don't know anything else. so in the sense that when people talk of companies, it's very different from what the situation in India is. There it's a much more organized. There's a wardrobe manager, and the wardrobe person does only wardrobe. Somebody else does only lights, means the person does only lights. If the director only directs. The producer only produces. The theatre manager only sells tickets. So it's all very, very set out, the tasks. But here everybody does everything. Right from cleaning the floor we do. So it really doesn't matter. Of course it has its pluses and its minuses, because pluses are that everybody knows exactly what is happening. Everybody knows. So it's all a well knit, close thing. Not so good, because then obviously the expertise levels go down. If somebody is an expert in something and is handling only that, obviously that person is going to do the best possible. Here we make do with whatever we can do. So obviously the levels are whatever we can muster, we kind of manage. So I guess that's as I said, we don't know of another situation, So that's the way we are here. And the best part is that we've survived in spite of that. Okay, coming back to now the work. After Shivam, after her voice traveled quite a bit, and we were able to kind of keep it alive for a long time. And we were happy, because we thought it would be a one-time thing, but because it kind of worked well, we traveled with it, and we did about more than 30-40 shows, which is quite good for the production.
Good productions, they don't
Yes, for a big production. And then of course we formalized our own company. Our Natya Vriksha dance company got more formalized, and we started very seriously looking at work on our end. And I think early 2000 or 2001 was when we started formally, and we did something called Seasons. And Seasons was a complete departure from what we had done so far ever. And we took Western classical music, we took Tchaikovsky's work, and we tried to look at the imagery in Kalidas, Ritu Samhar, and juxtapose it with Tchaikovsky's music. So, ideas totally Indian, totally classical.
How did you get that idea to begin with?
I'd started listening to music because one of my students was listening to a lot of Deepa Dharmadikari was listening to a lot of Western music, and she had given me some pieces to hear. My other very good friend Shyam Banerjee, he was listening to a lot of music at that, and we were also comparing something in Doordarshan together. So he said, why don't you listen to this music? So I was listening to a lot of music. I was also at that time listening to a lot of Baul music. So I was listening to different kinds of music. And suddenly one day I was listening to music and I was just rehearsing, and I was in this space only, and suddenly started moving. I did tate teta, I did teha tehi, and everything sat on that. Everything had a beat, and I was able to suddenly catch the essence of what was being said. So I said, this is a great possibility. Why are we not exploring this? So I started hearing more, and that's when we thought seasons would be the best, very universal in its approach. And I was reading Ritu Samhara at that, and I had already done rain and spring in solo. So I thought the imagery was so beautiful, there could be nothing better than Kalidas imagery for the seasons, Ritu Samhar. So I said, why can't I juxtapose that and create something with a different soundscape without really meddling with the grammar or the Abhinaya and pure dance of Bharatanatyam. So we did it an experiment in one of the colleges. It was first performed in Gargi and then in LSR. And it was a runaway success, of course, because suddenly, children sat up and they said, what is this happening? Let me understand this, kind of thing. Because the sound was completely different and what was happening was vaguely familiar. So people couldn't make it out. And I think that was quite a path-breaking work for us also, because it's still alive, the production. After 15 years, we still are asked for that work to be produced or to perform. So in fact, people ask us and say, but will you do seasons?
Yeah.
So you got completely associated. In fact, we want to put it to rest now, but we don't seem to be being allowed to put it to rest. So it was. It's each time you do it, you feel very good, but you feel really good because of the grandeur of the music. It just fills up the space. And many times I wanted to create the same kind of impact with Indian musicians, but you need funds to have that large ensemble, and to create that effect, that large sound effect, to be able to support the dance. So I feel, someday we shall do a parallel with, yeah.
Akka, how did you address the question of how the dancer should look while doing seasons?
Very, very
When
difficult.
you're taking such proposing.
That was the first time when I really was against a wall. Because till then, I used to improvise with costume. Even for her voice, I took a traditional costume and I did the drape and I did certain other things, which really kind of, saw me through. It was okay. For Shivam also, I had done something. I had used myself. I just went and purchased. I did a check fan and a plain black. I was always fond of black, which many people thought was very odd on stage, but I thought it was very neutral to say what I was saying. Colors always have an association. So I've always preferred black in many ways to other colors, because what we were saying was quite different from what has already been said. So I wanted to break from the routine red, orange, blue, green. So I just thought we should, now I'm going to take up costume in the next class. Okay, can we do the namaskar?